hello, Corey.
Welcome, everybody.
Well, let me stop that. I mean, sorry. It's always technical challenges. I didn't know why it's playing, to be honest. Well, hello.
I don't know. Can they see us now?
Probably.
Welcome,
I know what I got.
everybody.
Well, let me stop that. I mean, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry about
Can they see us and hear us? How about that? Can you guys hear us? Wait. I don't know. Can they see? Are you getting it, Chris?
Yeah, I got you. Sorry about that. You know, monitoring the chat and everything throws up different audio signals. So.
Yeah, you gotta make sure that one's well, whatever you gotta do. I don't know.
That's right. You know, I think our audience is used to by now that we just have a bunch of shit technical issues at the beginning. You'd think we'd have this figured out, but you know, multiple changes. It seems like lately we've been in different areas. Obviously, tonight we're in remote world, so I'm here at my home. In my studio, and then of course you're at your home, and you know, unfortunately,
I'm on the couch studio.
yeah, we would transform all of this into a studio space, but I got the drums set up, I got all of that, so you know, until the kids and the grandbabies live, I just don't have any room at the house, so that's what it's about. But good to have you on. It's been a while.
It's good to be
Seems
on.
like, yeah, you know what? Big shout out to Wills. You know, I know he felt bad, but it had nothing to do with anything he did when we tried to go out there. You know, it's the world of technology and the internet. So, but we do appreciate that he allowed us to come out there. Wish we could have showcased it a little bit better, but that's more on our end. So thank you very much, Will, if you're on. And we go from there. So first off, what we need to do... Go ahead.
One, because we kind of delayed our normal opening because sometimes it's hard to say because we'll do it. It'll sound great on our end and then it doesn't go through.
Right. And now you're
so
out of the audio.
Let's start this. Yes, let's start this. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Pratt.
I'm Chris Ruck.
And this is Craving Cars Live. And we're attempting to do a live stream podcast here.
Yeah, remotely. Corey's joined remotely as a link, and I'm running all the studio software. So unfortunately, he has a little bit of a sync issue, and that's just kind of normal when you go through Wi-Fi and remote devices. But so bear with Corey as he struggles to make sure he's on path because his audio in his headphone is a little delayed. But I'm sure he'll compensate for it. So welcome to the show.
They're saying I have an echo as well. I'm not sure why that is.
I don't know.
Because you don't hear an echo from me, do you?
No.
Huh. I don't actually hear an echo. I just have a delay. Well, maybe I'll just be here and be a pretty face and you talk.
Well, that ain't gonna work.
Why? Because you can't talk?
You're the one that runs the show, so can't do that.
Is the echo that bad? Everybody, can we get by?
Yeah, if it's that bad, I mean, we've been troubleshooting this echo for the last hour, just so everybody knows, just figure out where it's coming from.
Well, we will.
How about now, everybody?
Oh boy.
Yeah, that made it worse. I can tell that already.
That's no good.
Yeah.
Well, let's just go with it and keep going. We did have
sounds like Wolfman Jack.
Some other possibilities. We did have a close place. We did have a close place that we thought might have worked out as a studio for us, as a sponsor goes, and I just had a really big boom go off, so someone sent some fireworks off or something. Must have been a Chiefs game thing.
All right. Thanks, Sean and Barden Find. Let us know if it cleans up a little bit.
It sounds like Wolfman Jack. Is that good?
Well, I'd like to sound like Wolfman Jack. He made a career out of his voice.
Should I be embarrassed if I were to ask the question of who's Wolfman Jack?
What? Oh, yeah, baby.
I'm not saying I don't know. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm asking for the audience.
50s, 60s radio DJ. He was talk like this. He was always that guy. I mean, you have to look him up, but he was the biggest DJ in the world back then. So
okay, I got you.
Please let us know online if things clean up a little bit. I'm not sure, Corey. If are you watching the chat on your laptop?
A little bit. Yep.
All right. Just make sure if you go to if you're looking at the YouTube page, make sure you have the volume down on the actual player.
Well, I don't have an actual player, so I'm going through the studio side. There's no audio.
Okay. All right.
And besides, I think it's muted. Yeah, never mind looking at it. Yeah, it's muted anyways. So,
okay. All right. Well, good. Well, anyway.
I don't think they should be picking me up through that.
Shouldn't be.
Because this is the same way I've done it before, and it's never happened.
Well, I closed out my window. See if they have. Ask them if are they still.
They said it's better.
Better.
I don't know if it's gone, but they said it's better.
All right. Well, this is the problem we run into. Not only being in the same room, but just dealing with all the technology things. Where he's at, where I'm at. So.
I guess we're just going to have to go on with it.
Yeah, let's move on. Let's keep going.
We have a fun show for you, though.
We do. Let's talk about our sponsors. They're a big part of why we can run this failing ship. It just seems to be issue after issue after issue. This will be a depressing podcast. I'll tell you that right now.
How about this? Thank you to our sponsors that help make this possible. And let us try to get out and do what we can. And I'm going to kick that over to Chris. Talk about our sponsors.
All right. Let me go through it here real quick. So, proudly sponsored by Flying H Drag Strip. They came on board a few months ago. We got a lot of stuff coming up with them towards the October timeframe. A couple things coming up in September. We'll let you know about that. But big shout out to Scott and Blake and all of them for making this happen. We are Warriors, of course. Jason doing an amazing job. He's been so busy, we haven't even been able to lock him into the show because he's just pumping out gear left and right. Of course, Dave with Uncorked Wine and Spirits, and of course his own crew. A great place to go if you guys want to, learn about wine and spirits. They have concierge there that will educate you on everything from bottom shelf to top shelf. So, and of course, Richline Motorsports, always a good sponsor. JD and all of his partners are doing an amazing job by sponsoring us. Cartoons, which is my thing. Obviously, as you guys know, when we do car shows, even we set up Craving Cars, we set up a live PA system, and we deliver, DJ music and all of that. We'll go into a little bit more of that here soon. Tim from Timely Delivery Service, always been a great sponsor of us. He's always been behind us. Recently had some health issues, and he's dealing with that, but he's out there. I think he was at the last Casey Showdown event, and he was just released from the hospital a few days before. So great person. So reach out to them for sure. But those are our sponsors, Corey.
I'm excited to hear of those sponsors and know of those sponsors and see of these sponsors and have them on board as sponsors.
Yeah.
That was a lot of sponsors in that sentence.
There was a lot of sponsors.
If you are curious on knowing what is a little more detail, or you want to need anything for us, send more information, or curious on being any kind of a sponsor, follower, or supporter of something of Craving Cars, cravingcarslive.com, and we have links and everything
Our YouTube
there
channel.
to all of our
Our
social
YouTube
media.
channel is probably I mean, you can go to cravingcarslive.com. It's going to link you to our social media. Our social media sites are actually the best place to find everything updated, the latest videos, all of that, right? So links to it, of course, but definitely follow, like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Facebook page, all of that. Follow the events we have coming up. That's the best way to keep a hold of us. For sure, transferring data between 2 or 3 different locations is a different story. So, follow this YouTube channel if you're on it. And of course, follow our Facebook. Those are always real time. Website might take a day or two, but these are real time. So,
Facebook and Instagram at Craving Cars, and of course, YouTube is at Craving Cars as well.
Yeah. So,
Fantastic.
Corey, what have you been up to?
Chris.
What's going on with you?
I have been finishing my recuperation from surgery on this guy right here. And I only have a couple more weeks of some strength training stuff left. And then I think I'm done with physical therapy. Granted, it's still going to have the next 15-20% of healing is going to have to happen over the next probably year. But I am mostly functioning decently well, and hopefully to be back out in the field and doing more cool stuff.
Awesome. Any updates on Serenity? What's going on with that?
Yeah, so far we're still sitting there. I have contacted the insurance company a couple times and left messages, but no one's gotten back with me yet.
Oh, well, that's kind of typical, unless you beat them down.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So me, obviously, as everybody's been tracking, most of the people on the show today, Sean, Will, Steven, everybody has just been, and Craig if he's listening, but just been part of helping me recuperate from the stolen Jeep, which is a big deal. I did get it back 2 days ago on our own. We had a tip, and we found it. Cosmetic damage, you can see all that on my Facebook page if you follow me. But nothing major. It's good to have it back.
Where do they need to go to follow you, Chris?
Chris Ruck.
There you go. Simple.
That's pretty much it. Chris Ruck on Facebook. I mean, most of the people listening already are friends, so I appreciate it. Just the support and everything we get from the car community. As you know, a couple years ago, Mod Squad, I was dealing with all of that, and that was great. But, you know who your true friends are when they stand up and they're helping you look and trying to find something, right? It was a big hit. Unfortunately, if you never read the story behind it, I was at Quick Trip I was on empty. I mean, the Jeep gets like 9 miles to a gallon. So I had to get gas, and I was only going to put $10 in, and that's all I did. And I wasn't even going to go into the store. But then I'm like, well, let me run in here and get a soda real quick. And as soon as I got to the door, something told me to turn around, and I did. And as soon as I turned around, I saw somebody just jump in the driver's seat and then drive off. And there were no intersection blocks that I can get to. And then he was on the highway, so he was gone. That being said, I wasn't thinking I would go in, and there were no trackers, no OnStar. It's an older vehicle, so not much I can do. And then lo and behold, you reach out to helpful tip. If you do have something stolen, or let me tell you this, before you have it stolen, go get yourself some Apple tags or Samsung tags. Each version of your phone has it. Go buy them. You can get 4 tags for $79 off Amazon, and you put them in your car somewhere hidden. You're going to know where your car's at without a subscription. You're going to know. It's kind of like doing where's my iPhone at? I recommend everybody go do it. There's been such a dramatic, and I didn't even know it was this bad, such a dramatic increase in crime on cars in Kansas City, Independence. Those are the 2 biggest ones that I've seen. And they're hovering around because there's a lot of unincorporated areas between Independence and Kansas City that it relies upon a county sheriff to go monitor. In other words, KCMO can't get involved. Independent isn't patrolling, so it's on the outskirts. And I recommend go get yourself some air tags, put them in your car. Again, there are no subscriptions. It's just like, where's my iPhone? It's going to track where it's at because it's built off the network. As long as somebody with an iPhone or a Samsung is driving by it, it's going to ping it. And it'll show up at the latest location. So I recommend doing that for sure. Other than that, we got it home. Luckily we were blessed by not having it destroyed, caught on fire somewhere. But we paid somebody to do tracking on it. They're recovery agents. So they know where to go and where to look. They kind of know what's going on in the area. I recommend, even though, it cost us $500, I got my Jeep back and it wasn't damaged, and it is what it is. So I highly recommend just paying attention. But if you go on Facebook and you look under Stolen KC or the new Stolen KC, because it's just being overwhelmed, you'll be surprised what's going on. And what kept me sane was, yes, I lost a Jeep, and yes, I lost some DJ equipment. But you go on there, after my Jeep was stolen, there were probably 6 more. And there were families driving through Kansas City going to either Colorado or some other state, and they just were staying at a hotel. All their livelihood is in a trailer attached to their truck. They steal the truck, they take the trailer, and everything that they have is gone. And they don't live here, right? They're just passing through. That's where the issues are. So I highly recommend do your due diligence, even though it maybe not has happened to you, and this is the first time it ever happened to me. But digging into it, it was a big deal. So thank God we got the Jeep back. That's all we asked for. I still have a backup equipment, all of that, so I'm not worried about the DJ stuff. It'd be great to get it back, but I'm not that worried about it. But you know what? The car community stepped behind it. Our friends, our followers, everybody listening to the podcast, they all stepped up. Everybody was keeping their eye out. And that's where those tips come from. So you definitely join them and make sure you protect yourself. So that's my rant.
Well spoken.
And I know.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching. No, I'm just kidding.
That was. Sorry about that. It was a long rant.
You know what?
I'm
so glad you got it back, and I'm sure everybody else is too.
Yeah. And look for anybody flying a Craving Cars flag, because our big flag that we fly off of Serenity or off the back of the Jeep, there's a picture of it out there. That's gone. So, we do have others, but the big thing is just be aware, protect yourself. It's very bad in this area. So just protect yourself.
Indeed.
Yeah. So
do you ever? I'm gonna take a little.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
All right. Chris, I know you know who this guy is. His name is Jared Pullen.
Yeah.
Frono's Photo is his YouTube channel and social media and all that stuff. He's a photographer. And I watch him because he does some good reviews on camera equipment and things of that sort. And he's entertaining to watch if you're in any kind of photography at all. There's a lot of articles and stuff that come up where people have $10,000, $15,000 worth of camera equipment, which isn't hard to do when you're a professional photographer.
No.
And they got it in a single bag, and they're in a vacation somewhere, and they'll get it stolen. And so then they go out and rant and get mad and do like a fund me thing to try to get money to go pay for it. And then Jared Pullen would step up and go, well, where's your insurance? If you're an active professional in that and you're traveling for a job and you're there to do a job and all that stuff, then you need to protect yourself. whether it's like what you're talking about, putting some kind of tracker in your vehicles. So if anybody, it doesn't matter if they steal it, if they steal it with a tow truck, if they break in and drive it away, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, yeah.
Just some way that you can do something and track it, or just something. And the same way can go with put one in your camera bag, put one I know there's certain things that if you're a traveling professional on a job, you should have insurance on all your equipment. But Jared Pullen always says, this might be a little different for some people, but he goes, don't be an asshole. And he's not even talking about people stealing, because that's an asshole thing to do, is to steal your shit. But don't be an asshole to yourself and protect yourself. Where you either, whether it's, if it's not by insurance, it's some way to recover your stuff one way or the other.
Yeah, at least somehow recover something.
Yeah, that's right. And I know you're going through things where some of the insurance protection wasn't available at that moment for some of your equipment wise.
No, and honestly, I can go back to that because I followed Jared Pullen a lot when I was a wedding photographer doing films, and I had a whole truckload of camera gear. All that was insured, right? Because then you can just say, oh, it's, report it's stolen, and yeah, you'll recoup your money, that kind of thing, to replace your equipment. But most, me aside, the idea would be, yes, you should have insurance on everything that's of major value, whether homeowners, renters, that kind of a thing. It's a big deal. And even with cars, and this is the topic of, are you protecting the investment you have in your cars? This goes into everything, whether it be photography, equipment, computers, laptop, whatever. Are you protecting yourself? Make sure you are, one way or the other. I get it. Insurance is very expensive, which is why I had to quit mine, just because of the loss of the career and everything. I had to stop mine, and that's when I got hit. So, unfortunately, it's not insurable. Some things can be done under your home policy, but if it's not stolen from your home, in other words, they came in my driveway and grabbed it, that's a different story. That falls under multiple things. But you're outside of your home, like I was, you're not really covered. But put trackers in, because if you can't afford insurance, which honestly, it's gone crazy how expensive insurance is right now. Just to put the Jeep on full coverage insurance, I put a lot into it to get it back to where it is. But the Jeep's only worth like $7,000, right? I know what I have invested in it, but that's irrelevant. The insurance company is going to say, well, here's $5,000, right? But I'm going to charge you $300 more on your insurance policy. So you say, well, if you're not going to pay it off anyway, why would I want full coverage? I'm going to roll back to liability only. And now you're down to $80 a month, $100 a month, right? But now you're out if it's stolen, and it doesn't cover a lot of stuff. So, it's about what you can afford. I get it. Everybody's struggling with that, and that's a big deal. So.
Well, do we want to talk about cooler stuff?
Let's talk about some cool stuff, because I'm done living this world for the last 2 months.
All right. Well, there are some.
You were talking about earlier
cool
that you want to talk about some supercar Bugatti stuff. So what do you got? What do you got?
Well, Bugatti, the world-renowned super hypercar maker, first one making a factory OEM car with 1,000 horsepower. And they've done more. I think their Chiron came out with 1,500 and some change horsepower and all that stuff. Well, I don't know if you knew it, Bugatti was owned by the Volkswagen Group, but they recently sold. And they are now owned by the company. Well, people pronounce it differently every time. We pronounce it probably Rimac.
Oh yeah.
They make the big Super 2,000 horsepower. Well, they make versions, different ones, but their fastest one I think is 2,000 horsepower electric car. I think it's technically pronounced Ramat because it's the country it's from, but it doesn't really matter. They now have possession of Bugatti, and with that said, they have now come out with their first Bugatti. And ideally, when they wanted to make it, they wanted it to be even better performance, faster, blah, 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 over the previous ones, over the Veyron, over the Chiron. And I think they've just done it, and they've done it a little differently, where they took a little bit of Bugatti and a little bit of Rimac. They kind of put it together and made this really interesting, cool hybrid hypercar. Now, this is still, you know how the Bugatti had the W16 engine?
Yeah, one of very few.
Yeah. Basically, two V8s like melded together with four turbos in it.
Yep.
Well, this one changed the engine a bit. So they got rid of the W16. And most people are thinking, all right, here comes the twin turbo V8 now.
Right.
It's not. It's still a 16 cylinder engine. But it's a V16 now, not a W. And it's not turbocharged. It's a naturally aspirated, yes, V16 producing 1,000 horsepower.
My God.
That's crazy. On top of that, now remember, their first 1,000 horsepower one required a W16 with 4 turbochargers on it.
Yeah.
Now they can make 1,000 horsepower. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And then they've added the addition of 3 electric motors. Of those, give it an extra 800 horsepower total. So now we have an 1,800 horsepower Bugatti with a naturally aspirated V16 engine.
I like to live in their world.
It's interesting. Because not only that, it's lighter than the previous car. It is, or at least no heavier anyways. But with more power, all-wheel drive. It's stupid fast, talking about 300 mile an hour top speed, give or take.
This is the new Bugatti Chiron. Well, it's successful.
Yeah, I was trying to look at it.
Sounds like you found something.
Yeah, I did. So I was trying to figure a way of getting it. But.
Yeah, Matt Watson from Carwow, which is what we just listened to just for a second there. You had it up there. Did an awesome like walk around on it, and it is very, very interesting. But here's the thing. Now, bear with me here, people. A hypercar, because this is beyond a supercar, right? This is 1,800 horsepower. This is I think, what's it start at? It's $3 or $4 million. So not exactly the cheapest thing in the block. Oh, and it's got cool doors. Yeah, and the interior is wild. The steering wheel turns with the center of it not moving. So that's kind of interesting. It really does look a little bit cooler and more innovative than the previous Bugattis.
Put that link in
as if it could actually get better.
Yeah.
Anybody, you guys need to look up go to Carwow. Look up the video on YouTube from Carwow about this car. It's called the Tourbillon, I think.
Is that what it is?
Like Tour and Billion put together.
You know what? I just had that actually.
The Bugatti Tourbillon.
Yeah.
It is wickedly cool. But it is also, let's just say, a $4 billion car.
Well, yeah, something that nobody in Kansas City, out of a few, would be able to afford.
If anybody in Kansas City is buying that, they're buying it, they're putting it in a garage, and we'll never see it.
Yeah. Well, unless Brian buys it. They'll just put the rest of it crap.
Well, I look at it like this. We're car guys. we have our certain cars. We have our favorite cars, but we're also the kind of car guy. We're not just a classic guy. We're not just a new car guy.
Yeah.
We're not only a JDM. We're not just German. We're not American. We like a lot of it. But more importantly, we like cars that we can use. I don't know how much use you truly get out of a hypercar, or if it's more of a measuring stick on how large your
Right.
junk is,
Right.
or maybe how small it is. I don't know. But if you had all the money you need to be able to buy this car and maintain it, would you even bother?
I don't know. Let's find out. Let me do this.
Now, it's not like I don't want to experience the car and be around the car, but as a whole, everybody listening here, is a hypercar something that's actually on your what your dream list? Is it something you would truly want to own? Or is it just, hey, this is a cool spectacle, it's an amazing piece of machinery that it's good to see the technical marvel behind it? But would you bother even spending your own money if you had it?
Right.
Because $4 million can buy you a lot of cars.
A lot of very cool cars, to be honest.
Yes. And I don't know any car that I really truly want in my lineup of, let's say, if I were to pick my top 10.
Yeah, our lineup of
$4
cars.
million would buy all of my top 10 cars. Just saying.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Probably. One of them might be kind of expensive. But it wasn't as expensive when it first came out. It just happens to have gained a lot of value. And let's say I'm going by MSRP of all my cars, not by like what they sell nowadays. I'm going by, hey, I could what this was brand new compared to what that is brand new.
Yeah. I mean, I think.
So with that said,
go ahead.
Yeah. Would you even? You got $500 million sitting in your bank account. Would you bother buying a hypercar? That's kind of what I want to know with everybody.
I don't think so. I mean, I don't think I would. I think because you're right. I mean, you can that kind of money. My God, there's so many other cars I loved throughout my life that I would just love to have, right? And I think I'd rather stable something than go for one major purchase.
I feel like this car is, and I'm not saying, hey, you got $500 million in your bank. I'm not saying you have all of that to spend on a car, because you got other things going on in your life.
Oh, of course.
So I mean, let's say you can buy this car and maybe one or two others, or don't buy this and then you can have 10 or 12 in your garage.
Yep.
So it's kind of like, besides me looking at the fact I love engineering, and I love, like I said, seeing this technical marvel, what they're able to do, and this kind of technology will trickle down to more affordable cars eventually. What affordable means, I don't know, but cheaper than $4 million. But with that said, it's like at this point and now, I mean, is it really just kind of a waste? Because hey, you give me like my car, I can drive my Porsche around. It's not perfect right now. So if I get a ding or I get something, it's like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
But if you drive around a $4 million car, how paranoid are you that something's going to happen to it?
Well, of course you are. I mean, you wouldn't bring it out because, I mean, all your investments into that one car.
Yeah, it's kind of pointless to own a vehicle that you don't drive.
We've talked about
because we're drivers. We want to go out and drive.
That's right.
Yeah, we want to
no
go drive.
No matter what I own, I'm going to drive it, regardless of what it is. I don't care what, because I don't think of myself as a collector. I would think of myself as an owner, right? Where I own the car, I'm going to drive it. I'm not a collector storing it to resell it down the path. I'm not looking at that, right? I think, in my opinion, if you're an owner of a car, you're going to drive it. and that's the wheelhouse between a owner and a collector. A collector, they want to store them, which is fine, but they're not going to drive them, especially this kind of money. They're just not, unless you just have stupid money and you don't care. In case you guys didn't know, Dubai just went under flood, and there were millions of dollars worth of cars just flooded. So they got
No
hit
kidding.
by.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, all the Prince hotels, all of that was just flooded, and they got video footage of all kinds of cars just being just destroyed.
All right, getting a little bit of feedback from
Yeah.
the viewers.
Where you
They
want to
said,
start?
"Can we black out Chris's face?"
I don't see that.
No, I'm kidding. I just made that up.
Yeah, we can.
I'm
You
just
be on
kidding.
your own
there you go. Stephen Miller made a good point. Made a good point. The fact that he goes, "I can buy all the cars I want and a house."
That's right. Right. It's
And
priority.
still probably be under the 4 million.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? Even if put it this way, if you won the lottery, let's just say you got $100 million in the lottery, right? Would you go to the extreme of just changing your life to step up to be this millionaire, or would you just live your life, invest, buy what you want to be comfortable, but buying a $6 million home with land and everything around it, and you're a single person, or it's just you and your wife, right? Because you have no grandkids or anything around, and you're living on your own, what's the point of owning it? So what would you rather do? That'd be a good question to ask everybody.
Well, okay, what are the options? What would you rather do?
Spend your money on a couple, in other words, go out and buy this Bugatti, $4 million, right? Or would you take that money, live in obviously, probably your own, I would probably live in my own secluded area, not a major home. Doesn't need to be multi-million-dollar home. I don't need basketball courts and pools. But would you do that? Or would you rather just kind of live the way you're living today, knowing that you're secure, everything's paid off, and you're happy doing that? And maybe you buy some toys, right? And that way your money can be generational. In other words, you don't just blow through it. But now you can set up your sons, your daughters, your grandchildren, great-grandchildren, whatever, because you have that money set aside. What would you do?
I would like to think for myself that I would live the means that I'm kind of at now, but with that little extra freedom to take those extra trips that we have to wait on now.
Yeah.
And aside of still, doing some kind of home, basically just I don't know, build the garage I want so I can put my vehicles in and all that kind of stuff to keep everything together. I would like to think that I wouldn't go too nuts and live that lifestyle of the rich and famous.
Just to be rich and famous.
Right. I don't know that I would care to live with that stature. I would rather just people know of them of who I am now. I might occasionally show up in a little bit nicer car.
Yeah.
Like
I think that's
maybe a
how
newer
I
Porsche.
was before too, right? I think if
I
I
like to
was in
think
my
that's what it'd be anyways.
if I was in my 20s, early 30s, I can see where this is where the celebrities and music artists, that's where they get locked into, and sports. A lot of money pushed at them at a young age. Their mindset isn't the same as it is when you're in your late 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Your mindset is completely different. Yes, it would be nice to have these things, but is it really important? I'm happy just living by means with no worrying about bills, anything like that. I don't need a major house to try to impress somebody. As you notice, most celebrities and those people that have these multi-million-dollar homes, they don't have neighbors. They're on their own, right? And they're showcasing a property that has value, but to somebody else that wants to buy the same thing. Me, I'd rather be in a community that you support, be comfortable. That's how I would probably spend most of my money. Not that's just on topic, and I would buy the cars that I would love to have, right? Dream cars, right? My purchases would be probably a 67, 69 Dodge Charger, a Trans Am, Smokey and the Bandit style, maybe a Lambo, something like that, but nothing crazy. Maybe a Ferrari, but nothing too crazy. Spending $4 million, I don't care if I have $100 million in the bank. I don't see the need for it. And if you're just going to park it and store it, just doesn't make sense to me personally. I know though those people that can afford it, maybe having, and I don't have that opportunity. But if you did have it, what's the point if it's sitting in a garage or a multi-port garage that you have to lock secure? You never drive them but once a month, if that. What's the point? How are you enjoying what you just purchased? Me, I'd rather live in the moment and love what I have. That's kind of it. That'd be my mindset. So,
well, I've got an example for that. So this last weekend was actually the first time I got to take my Porsche Cayman out.
Yep. It's
in
been a
almost
while,
4 months.
actually. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. I couldn't drive it. I had the surgery on my shoulder. I had to recover from that. And then when I went to go try to take it out for a drive before we went on our vacation in August, we found out the battery had died. And I mean, I don't mean just like it lost charge and let's recharge it. It's done. Yeah, it was fried. So we had to buy a new battery. But at this point, it's like, hey, we're about ready to leave on vacation. Let's not worry about it right now. I'll deal with it when I come back. And the first time I got a chance to deal with it was last weekend.
Right.
So basically, long story shorter, we got the battery, got it replaced. I went out for a drive. And it was a lot of fun. I just went down a few roads. I took some places that I knew that were just kind of a fun drive. And I don't know that I would have had any more fun driving that Bugatti than I would just driving the car I have. You know, I mean, I'm not saying there's not other cars I do like better than mine. There are. But just for how fun that just the car is in general, and the car guys that we are, it's kind of like we just enjoy the drive. And as long as you can actually use that and enjoy yourself with it, that's worth however much money you feel that you can put into something. And I mean, to some people, maybe priceless. The fact that they have that ability or that freedom to be able to have a vehicle, to be able to enjoy the open road, whether it's a sports car, whether it's a big cruiser, whether it's a rat rod, whether it's a particular truck they like, it just doesn't really matter as long as it makes them feel the way it makes them feel. Now, if I was in a newer Porsche that was maybe faster and did whatever, I don't know that I would have enjoyed it more. I would have just enjoyed it as just as much. And maybe the only difference was, hey, maybe this car has more creature comforts, so
Yeah.
you can enjoy a little bit of that. But the actual enjoyment of driving that particular car and having fun with it for what it's made and designed to do, I don't know that it gets better than the drive I took last weekend.
No, you're right. A spirited drive is a spirited
outside
drive.
of changing, outside of changing that to a different scenery and having more fun roads, that'd be about it.
Yeah. I mean, there's only so much you can push on public roads, right? So I think every car kind of holds up if you're in that area. So I don't know how much you get out of a $4 million car besides saying you have a $4 million car and you're part of that community of others that have $4 million cars. And now you did a $5 million car. So that's that evolution of the car scene. And we all go through it, right? whether it be mods or things like that. You show up at a car show, your car is great, you love it for what it is, and I think that's the way you should think about it. Not thinking that you're doing it to compete against others or, well, he had this done, now I need to work to have that done. I think you find a car and you love it, and that's what you live for. That's what I'm going through with the Audi. It's been sitting for 2 years, right? I love the car. It is what it is. There's a certain limit you're going to get out of any car. And you got to be comfortable in the fact that at some point, somebody's going to pull up alongside of you with something better. And you're going to wish you had it. And then now you're just chasing. And I think a lot of the car community gets wrapped up in that. But I think you should just enjoy what you have, especially when you go through things of losing stuff. You start to appreciate that more. But there's a lot of chasing going on out there in the car community for sure. I mean, you're just steadily, it's never ending. And I'm sure Sean and everybody else can relate to it. You got to make it better and better. Our good friend Steven, he has his car, and he's kept it OEM. I think the guys that keep the cars OEM love them for what they are, and that's what they are. They're never the showboat. They're never going to be the baddest thing on the street, but they just enjoy what they purchased. That's all. And honestly, I think if Steven won $200,000, he wouldn't do much mods to that car, right? I think he would keep it the way it is because he loved the car. He might buy something else, but he's not going to change what he owned. And I think I'm in the same place. And Corey, you're the same way. You love what you struggled to get, and once you get it, you love it. So it's easy to push things aside. Money doesn't fix everything.
It could fix the paint chips on the front of my car, though.
Yeah, it would. Yeah. It would be nice
I would
to be
get
able
that
to do
fixed.
those things. Yeah. To make those changes, you want to modify something or you want to add something, you have the ability to do it. That's one thing. But just to throw everything that you loved in your life at an early age to where you are today and just say, I'm going to buy this $4 million Bugatti because I have the money to. Who's it for, right? It's for everybody else to admire you, not for what you truly love. So I think that's a big thing.
All right. It is. Let's see what some of the chat's saying here on that. Obviously, we talked about we got someone saying that instead of buying that one car, they could buy all the other cars that they've always wanted, plus a house. Will talked about honestly he'd be scared to drive it, which spend the $4 million. That's where I would be. I don't want to have to be scared to drive anything I own.
That's right.
Could you imagine buying a house and going, oh, I can't step in it. I might get the carpet dirty.
Right.
And
that's what collectors do. I mean, they are that. It's not all, but there are collectors out there that have these stable of cars, and they even in their own garages or showcase area, they're all roped off. It's like, do you even enjoy the car? Yes, you own it. Great. Good pat on the back. But are you enjoying it or are you doing it as a collector? Me, I'd rather be an owner and go from there. And as Sean pointed out, right? I mean, even though it's a rust bucket, he loves it. Never won a trophy with it. I think it's still one of the biggest head turners when it shows up to a car show, but he loves it. His heart's into it. It's something he always wanted. And that's where you need to just love what you have. And I learned this over this last few months, well, lots of years, but last few months especially, because, you're hit by things you're not used to being hit by. And it's about appreciating what you have, not what you need to purchase to make yourself stand out. Your friends are going to be your friends no matter what. They're always going to be there. And I think that's the biggest thing is if you're buying stuff just to turn heads, meet new people, show that you're in the game, I don't think that's the way to go. Me personally, being at 57 years old, I've gone through both. I think it's more comfortable knowing that you have what you have, and then you enjoy it, and that's it. And you find
Oh, for
like-minded
sure.
people that enjoy the same thing. We've done the same thing. Your car and my car, they're old cars, but we love it. We purchased them for a reason, and they are what they are. I wouldn't want to change that. My wife always tells me, look, if I won the lottery, what car would you want to buy? To be honest, I wouldn't get
I
rid of
don't
my
know that you'd buy a car.
I
You'd at least buy an engine, though.
I would rebuild what I love, and
Yeah.
there's a reason for it. Now, don't get me wrong. I would probably buy something else along with it, but
Oh,
I
sure.
wouldn't just throw that car to the side, right? You're the same way with your Porsche. You wouldn't just throw that car out the door just because you came into money, right? You'd find a way to preserve
Oh,
it,
no, no, no,
enjoy
no,
it,
no.
maybe better it a little bit if you could, maybe buy something else. But to be honest, if I had the money, I'd get my car fixed and I'd buy a Lambo, and the Lambo would be the daily driver.
Even there you go. Even if I had an infinite amount of garage space, I would not buy an infinite amount of cars. Because if I feel like that car is going to get neglected and not driven enough, then I don't need to own it.
Yeah.
And so I would look at it, doesn't matter how much money is in my bank, I will only buy enough cars that I can still at least cycle through them and drive them at least on a fairly regular time.
And that
If I
brings up
can't
the
do that,
question. Yeah. I
then
mean,
I
that
don't
brings
want
up the
it. I mean, I
that
would
brings
want
up
it,
the
but
question is, are you a automotive enthusiast or are you an automotive investor, right? A lot of collectors buy cars because it's going to flip in value, and that's just the way they think about it. Enthusiasts, I think, love what they have, and that's where at least I'm at, and I'm sure you're at the same place. But I think other collectors think of it as an investment. So at some point, they're going to flip it, right? If you have 100 cars in your stable, what are you getting out of it? Just to say you have 100 cars? Or are you going to be selling it off at Meekum sometime and making more money? I get it. There's both sides of it.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been in that position to buy every car I would want. So it's easy to say what you would do. It doesn't necessarily mean you'll follow that to its T. But I do believe that cars should be driven. If you own them, you should drive them. Maybe you don't drive them that often, or I get you don't want to drive them in the wintertime. But when it's that time, you should exercise them. You should take them out, whether it's a cruiser or a sports car, or it doesn't really matter. Just as long as you get out, enjoy it, and drive it, which I feel like most of our listeners are exactly that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
That's what I love about
they're talking about.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, we got people talking about like they'd rather have more cars than one car that they're afraid to use. An investment's one thing. It's nice, but that's not one of those things. It's not like, hey, I'm invested in gold and I have a collection of gold. You can't do anything with gold but sit there. A car is different.
If it goes up or down.
It's a machine. It needs. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You're
You're
needs to be
tracking
used
whether
because
that
I feel
car
like
makes money
Yep.
or it doesn't, and that's your life. It's not about enjoying what you just purchased.
What I don't understand is the fact that so some of these really like more rare cars, the older they get, they become more valuable, and then it's like, hey, this only has 100 original miles on it, so it's worth so much. And I feel like it's actually worth less because a car sitting there is actually doing more damage than you driving it on a somewhat regular basis.
Yep, agreed.
And Barn Find pulled it up talking about Paul Walker when he died is because they took out a car that was in the sense someone's collection, and it had 9-year-old tires on it.
Yeah.
That's not good. I mean, you gotta keep things up. You gotta.
No, you got to think of a car as being your own personal thing. If you sat on a chair and or a couch all day, every day, didn't move,
Oh, and by the
How are
way,
you going to
barn
feel?
find,
Or you out there getting active? Cars
barn
are the
find.
same way.
I am the same way. I've never entered my car to win any kind of real trophy award. I'm not counting World of Wheels because that didn't count. I go to car shows and I love them because I want to see the cars. I could care less about the trophy.
That's right. That's right.
I'm there for the cars. If someone's a trophy chaser, then that's their thing. That's great.
Yeah.
But
There are
not me.
different people, but they think they put all their money into it and they think they deserve a trophy. And I bet, and you've been at many car shows as well, where they physically get upset that their car didn't win. Right? They're parked next to 6 other Camaros and they have a Camaro and they think theirs is the best, which most of us do, and they wonder why they didn't win. And now they think the system's rigged or whatever, right? So I agree. Even when I went to all the car shows, when the Audi was running, I wasn't doing it to. I enjoyed showing the car and talking about the car. I could give a crap less about the trophy I brought home. I did. Even when I had my World War II BMW motorcycle, I brought it to shows just to show it and educate people on the history. I could care less if it won. Of course, it wins because it's unique, but I wasn't bringing it there for that. Because the more you can talk to and educate about either your car, or your bike, or whatever it is, I think that's where you get the benefit of owning such a unique car. Because I know you, Corey, if you brought your Porsche to a Porsche Club event, you would be pointing out the uniqueness of your car on how it's not 100%. It's unique on how it's built, right? And you're doing it to educate. You're not doing it to promote that I deserve a trophy, right? I'm doing it because I love the car that I bought. It has some uniqueness to it, and this is why I love it. That's it. And if you get a trophy, it's extra, but other than that, that's it.
Absolutely. Or to even learn about what's different about, just to learn about other people's versions and special editions of certain cars that they have. Like, ooh, tell me about this. What was this? What was this like? Why is this different?
Yeah.
So it's all about just I love learning about that kind of stuff. And even when we go to things like I know we have newer cars. In essence, I know they're not brand new, but they're newer. They're not classic cars.
Sure.
But I love the classic stuff still equally as much because I love the automotive history.
Yeah.
And it's great seeing cars from that history. But yes, Mark from Ohio. Better late than never.
That's all right, Mark.
Thanks for joining in. We're more glad that you're here.
Yeah.
Regardless if it's late or not, than not being here at all.
That's true. That's true. And
thank
you
you.
know what? Before we move forward, I got to give a big shout out because, or respect to RIP for the preacher. Lowrider community, Kansas City lost a big person that's part of that community. So it is a big deal. I believe this weekend is his funeral and everything. In case you don't know him, look him up. You'll find it everywhere on Facebook. The preacher unfortunately passed away, and we even walked around it multiple times at World of Wheels, the Black Impala with all the artistry that goes into it. So big loss for Kansas City. So hopefully you guys can check it out on Facebook somewhere. And, if you're part of that community, definitely pay attention to it. But it was a big deal, big loss. I met him a few times, talked to him a few times. Just a great guy. So big loss. So I just wanted to put that out there real quick.
Absolutely. No. Thank you, Chris.
Yep.
I know this maybe wasn't the most upbeat show we've ever had, guys, but I promise it'll change on the next one.
That's right. That's life, though. And the good thing is a lot of our friends that are on it right now, they understand what we're going through. They're the most patient, and most of our followers are. Each of us have going through our own things, and I hate to keep beating on it. But just make sure you take care of your family, your friends first. you know, and go from there. But we are still looking for a home to do our Thursday night show. We're hit and miss right now, obviously, since my job lost. We don't have the studio space anymore, but we are looking. Sean from Barn Find obviously offered up a space, you know, but we are looking for something a little closer to home, unfortunately, just because of our work schedules. Well, Corey's work schedule. Just to be able to keep on board with, you know, we want to be able to set up, make sure things are awesome. So, you know, if you have any space,
we got to have good internet connection and all that.
Yeah, yeah. You know, it is good for us to be in the same room. Me and Corey always love hanging out with each other. You know, it's just a stress relief.
Less
and it's
echoes.
great to see people. Yeah.
Less echoes and delayed audio from my headphones.
Yeah, well, it's not involved with me at all. So
it makes it easier to run it when we're in the same room. This is
that's right.
I'm glad we can still do it this way. It's better than not doing it at all, but
yeah.
But we'll get her figured out. We'll get on a more consistent time. I know we've said this more recently, and we haven't proven that yet to everybody. But I promise we'll get something going better.
There you go. Well, yeah, we hope so. So, you know, we are a little over time, but, you know, I'm going to put it out there in the chat. If you have a question you want to ask us, put it in the chat right now. I'm going to go through just, you know, letting everybody know. Appreciate you tuning in to us. Where you can find us, cravingcarslive.com. Definitely follow the Facebook page and the YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, give us thumbs up on the shows.
And
That's the
Instagram.
best way to do it. Yeah, and Instagram too. So, if anybody has any questions, you know, throw them out there.
Not this weekend, but next weekend. I'm going to be going to check out a new overlanding show in Oklahoma, so we can talk about that when I come back from that.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. And I know we have something coming up soon at Flying H Drag Strip. We'll be out there doing something live, looking to do a few other things throughout the community to have us live on site. Hopefully Serenity gets repaired pretty soon. You know,
it is usable in the meantime. It's just once they start working on it, I don't know how long we'll be without it.
Yep. And thank God I got the Jeep back. We could always sit in the back of the Jeep. So that's a big part. That was the part of adding the Jeep to our convoy, or, you know, to be able to have other things in place. And luckily, you know, that's back, and hopefully we can move forward and just keep building and go from there. So let's just check real quick.
Yeah, let me look on there, Chris.
Yes. Follow me
you
on
want to go over our
MySpace.
sponsors once again?
I do.
Are you on MySpace? Yeah, we sure are BFF.
Yeah, as he knows. Let's go through them.
You can find us on MySpace at Your Mama.
Flying H Drag Strip, go check them out. They got a lot of stuff coming up, a couple major events, national events coming up September, October. We're going to be out there for those. We're locking those things in right now. They're an official sponsor of us. We are Warriors, Jason for sure. He's such a busy guy. We'd love to have him on just to go over everything, but that's probably an hour show on its own. And of course, Dave Uncorked and his crew from Uncorked Wine and Spirits. Richline Motorsports, JD and his whole staff, been an amazing partnership with us for sure. Cartoons, that's our newest thing that we're doing as well. Just if you have an event that you need music services for, live event coverage for, reach out to us, cartoonskc.com. And then, of course, timely delivery service. Tim, our good friend Tim, wishing him the very best. Going through a lot of health stuff recently, but hopefully all that comes through for him. His cars keep winning, and he keeps showing up. So make sure you check them out as well. Corey, what else you got to say?
Well, I will say this. Tim from Timely Delivery Service, he's always just like, what does Tim do? I don't know. He does what Tim does.
That's right.
So we always like to hear that one. So there you go, Tim. It's for you.
That's right.
timely delivery. They do cool timely delivery services, and then Tim does what Tim does.
Yeah.
Which is
great
whatever
guy.
he wants in his awesome BMW M2. Anyways.
Yeah, probably one of the best livery systems out there. So.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. I love it. We've had it in a few videos. If we need to still get him on the show. He was supposed to get on, and then our schedules aren't lining up very well.
Yeah. He's busy,
but that's okay.
That's okay. Busy, but it is what it is.
Yep.
All right.
That was before I was on surgery.
Let's thank everybody for showing up. Of course, our major support is our wives, my wife Tamara and Dottie, for you, Corey. Always supporters of us, and of course our good friends that always join the show. We appreciate it, no doubt. Check out Will's Wheels on his YouTube channel. Check out Barnfight Fabricators for sure. Steven, just check out Steven Miller. He's a big one, and of course go check out anything else out there. So anything else you want to add, Corey? If not, we'll wrap it.
Yep. Actually, there is. Basically, thanks everybody for watching the show today. Make sure you are like, share, and subscribe to everything, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram, like we said earlier. But more importantly, I'm Corey.
I'm Chris Ruck.
And to all you cravers out there,
keep craving.